Hello, everyone. It's another day of opportunity. Today, I wanted to talk with you about how trust has economic value for media organizations and how transparency is key to strengthening trust in media. People tell each other stories all the time to make sense of the world, and at the moment, various storytellers are competing for our attention. Their motives vary wildly, from trying to surprise, to distract, to entertain, to confuse, to create envy, to win votes, to inspire hatred, to make money, and in some cases to perform a public service by providing trustworthy, relevant information. In our current moment, we're drowning in a confusing digital media ecosystem that's filled with hoaxes, propaganda, and conspiracy theories. So, how can people look for and find stories that are credible and trustworthy? In this conversation, I'd like to show how a critical element for establishing credibility is for media to be more transparent about their finances, their personnel, their professional standards, and the processes they use to verify information. And media organizations that establish trust also develop loyal communities that are much more willing to pay for a subscription or membership, recommend the publication, and purchase other products and services. Public service news organizations are seeking new relationships with their communities. They're emphasizing transparency rather than a theoretical objectivity in order to establish credibility. A while ago, I heard a talk by Tina Kaiser, who's an investigative reporter for Die Welt newspaper in Germany, and she described some of the ways news organizations can be more credible. One way is by transparent corrections. Admit your mistakes quickly and fully and be transparent about how they were made. If an organization simply says, "This information was incorrect," the public is left with doubts about why a correction was determined to be necessary. Was it an honest mistake, a careless breach of journalistic standards, inaccurate information provided by a source? Without some explanation, readers might assume that a correction was made because of undue pressure and influence from some interested party. Number two, according to Tina Kaiser, is an organization should describe how any kind of in-depth story was produced, how the information was obtained, who the sources were, where journalists traveled to interview people, how they did the research, how the information was double-checked and verified, and other information that demonstrates the care and the professional standards that were used. Number three, how an interview was done. For example, with extensive interviews, especially with controversial or well-known figures, a news organization ought to do a short story that includes information about when, where, and how the interview was conducted. Was it in person? Was it by telephone? Was it an email exchange? Was it at the person's home or office? How long did the interview last? When did it take place? Was anybody else present? Was it recorded on video or audio? How was it edited? Readers or viewers should know the context of the questions. Was this a casual conversation? Was it a tense, confrontational interview? All of this detail can help users judge the trustworthiness of the information. Number four, publish documentation. For investigative and in-depth stories, publishing links to source documents, which is now possible on the internet, allows readers to see the original material. And number five, according to Tina Kaiser, no anonymous sources. There have to be exceptional reasons, say, for example, protection of the physical security and safety of a source for that to be used. Another area where news organizations should be transparent is about finances, ethics, and ownership. NewsGuard, which is an independent for-profit company gives credibility and transparency ratings to more than 6,000 news organizations based on their compliance with professional journalistic standards. The ratings are based on 9 criteria. Among them is how transparent the publication is about the owners and shareholders of the publication and their political leanings, as well as the biographies of the owners and the editors and any potential conflicts of interest. A model of this kind of disclosure is eldiario.es in Spain. It publishes quarterly financial results with details on their revenue and their expenses, including the average salaries of employees. The publication is free online, but it has more than 60,000 people who pay for it to support its mission of independent journalism. Clearly, trust is a factor in generating this kind of voluntary financial support. eldiario.es also publishes the names, email addresses, and biographies of all members of their board of directors, as well as all of their employees. The staff responds to every complaint, according to Ignacio Escolar, who is co-founder and CEO of the publication. Staff members send him the names of people who cancel their payments because they disagree with the news coverage or opinion columnists. Escolar writes to them directly and explains the editorial policy. Sometimes he does this 5 times in a day, sometimes 3, sometimes not at all, but he believes these chats are worth the trouble. He says he's learned a lot about the users from this. For news organizations faced with all the challenges to credibility from automated lie-spreading algorithms, you have to be an optimist. Otherwise, you might give up. But people everywhere are looking for sources they can trust and believe in. They're having trouble sifting through all of the conflicting opinions and information. They want help. So in a world of virtually an infinite supply of information and disinformation, there's a strong demand for credible, trustworthy information. Any news organization that can honestly label itself as worthy of trust and then deliver on that promise is in a position to build a community and earn its financial support. I'll post some links to further reading on this topic in the show notes for this video. That will be your next opportunity.